Hello, welcome to your beginners class today. We're going to be doing some restorative work, so have as much equipment as you have got at home. If you don't have any equipment, then make sure that you've got at least a chair and a few blankets or towels and a belt or a belt substitute. So we're going to come now for Upavistha Konasana, and we're going to use a wide support here, so a bolster if you have one. If you don't, then you could use 2 lots of foam pads to make more or less the same shape as a bolster. And if you don't have any foam pads, you can stack some blankets one on top of the other. So the reason we're using the bolster is it's a nice height and width. You may have the round bolsters, which are also good. They're slightly higher than this, so you just have to make sure that you don't tip off those if you're using a rounded bolster. So get the feet nice and wide. The backs of the thighs need to be supported on this bolster. Roll your shoulders back and down and press your hands down into your support. Now you see I haven't gone massively wide with my legs here. I don't want you to, some of you I know are very flexible, particularly those of you who've been had a background in gymnastics or dance. You know, you can go very wide with the legs, but we're not going super wide here. Some of you won't be able to get this wide, and that's fine. You go to where you can go to. This pose can be very strenuous on the groins, so anybody who has a history of groin injury, just to be, you know, mindful of the fact that it is a strong pose for those actions. Press the hands down either side of your hips and lift your chest. Now with that action, feel the breath flowing into and out of your lungs. So we're breathing in through the nasal passages and out through the nasal passages. So we're going to come forwards again here, but this time we're just going to take hold of the shins, only below the knee. I know many of you can come further forwards, but all we're doing here is gripping hold of the legs and lifting the chest. Keep that pubic plate moving back. So in other words, don't flex in your lumbar spine. Your navel needs to be moving right back towards your spine. Don't let your pelvic bones tip forwards. This is why I'm saying on these flatter bolsters, you're able to kind of anchor down a little bit. On the round bolsters, they do tend to tip you forwards. So resist that particularly if you've got the round bolster. So lift your breastbone towards the ceiling, draw your shoulder blades down towards your back waist. Be on the center of the heels, make sure that the kneecaps are facing the ceiling. They shouldn't be rolling in or rolling out. Toes facing the ceiling, really pulling the toes towards you and opening out in the soles of the feet. Grab hold of your shins again and pull. As you pull, lift up. Okay, and release and bring the feet together into a Dandasana action. So, pulling the flesh of the buttocks out and back. Place the hands onto your support. Roll the shoulders back and down. Make sure that you've got the back of the thigh supported. These creases are going down. Now if this support is not high enough for you, take some foam pads and sit on those, because those are a little bit firmer for what we're going to do next. So we're going to anchor down with the roots of the thighs and stretch the arms up into an Urdhva Hastasana action. So sitting in Dandasana, inner edges of the feet together, tops of the thighs rolling in, kneecaps, thigh muscles lifting towards your pelvis. So when we're sitting like this, you should be able to feel the spine lifting up. There shouldn't be a sinking action. So yes, your sacrum is there holding like that for your pubic plate to fit into, but it's got to be moving in to support you at the base of the spine. If it's not, then sit higher. Place your hands either side of you, lift your chest, extend into your inner heels, draw your toes towards you, stretch your heels away from you, breathe, and now stretch the arms out in front, draw the upper arm bones back into the body. On an inhalation, extend the arms up by your ears and breathe. Fine inhalation, fine exhalation through the nostrils. So don't hold tension in the sides of the neck. Stretch into your fingertips. Keep your legs working really strongly. Without your legs, you will get tired very quickly doing this. So let the shoulder blades release down. Extend your fingertips up. Breathe through the nasal passages. It's a long hold, I know, it can be hard to do. Rotate the upper arms from the outside in, so you're turning them in towards your ears. Look at your hands, make sure your fingertips are facing the ceiling, that your elbows and your wrists are the same width as your shoulders. Look forwards again. And now release the arms down. Well done. Okay, it's hard to do. So we're going to come now into a Setu Bandha action on just the bolster. You're going to have the bolster and then a couple of foam pads for your feet. So if you don't have a bolster, you can use foam pads instead of your bolster, but then you will have to use something for your feet. So it might be a little ledge, might be a couple of books. Otherwise, you're lying back on your bolster and sliding. Can you see I'm sliding so that my shoulders touch the floor here? Then press down into the elbows so that you get this opening here in your chest, and then extend your heels so that they're supported on your foam pads. But you've got to roll the thighs in. You can't just go off to sleep in this, okay? This is not a relaxation pose per se, because the legs are still very active. All right, so let's do that together. When you come out, you bend your knees and roll to your right side. So, sitting towards the front edge of your bolster or your support, maybe 4 foam pads, maybe 2 foam pads with a blanket over the top. Have something for your feet to come up onto. Recline back onto your elbows. So at this point in time, your shoulder blades are on the bolster. Then as you come back, you can hold the back of the head with the hands. This will help to support the head and the neck, but also it will help to lengthen the neck as you come into the action and let the shoulders come down. Obviously, anybody who has a problem with this because of tightness in the upper back, you can raise the floor up, you can put a foam pad under your head, you can put a blanket underneath your shoulders. All right, just dig your elbows into the floor so that you get this opening in the chest. And then stretch the feet out to your foam pads. You may have to adjust where they are. Bring the inner edges of the feet together. Roll your thighs in, and then you can just rest your hands down by the side of you, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. Now you might find it helpful to hold on to the outer edges of your mat and pull to give you more opening in your chest. But keep extending into the inner heels, rolling the thighs in and drawing the toes towards you with the whole of the inner side of the leg touching if you're able to. And again, feel the breath coming into the chest as you inhale and exhale. So observe the breath as it's flowing in and again as it's flowing out from the body. Alright, so we're going to come out of the pose now. So bend your knees, put your feet onto the floor. Carefully roll yourselves to the right side, and when you're ready, come up into a seated position. Okay, well done. We're going to come now for a kneeling action. So those of you who find kneeling difficult, you can do this in Sukhasana, simple cross legs. I'll just show from behind. We're going to sit down on the feet like that. So if there's a little bit of tightness in your knees, but not so much that this is completely out of the question, then you can always put some support there that will give you that same pressure onto your feet, but not be problematic for your knees. So we're going to lean forwards and put the right foot on top of the left foot. Those in cross legs, cross the right leg in front of the left leg, and sit down onto your heels or onto your foam pads. Lift your chest, roll your shoulders back and down. So we're going to come into Upavistha. Interlock the fingers with the right little finger on the outside. So make a fist and really work the fingers right into the pits of the fingers. Turn the palms inside out. Inhale and draw your arms up into Upavistha. So we keep the sides of the neck soft and long, open in the armpits, soft in the facial features. Pretend you don't mind what's happening with your feet. Some of you, for some of you, I know this is a really challenging action in the feet. All right, and releasing down and releasing the hands. So we're going to come forwards and change the cross of the feet. Those in cross legs, change the cross of the legs. So now, the other foot on top. So for me, this is a more difficult side. I have to kind of ease into it a little bit. You may find that one side is a little more troublesome than the other, but we have to work both of them. So now, interlock the fingers, left little finger on the outside, really work those fingers so that you get right down into the pits of the fingers. Turn the palms inside out, inhale, and lift up. So as we're lifting up, use this opportunity to breathe into the space. Feel your chest expanding as you inhale. Observe the expansion of the rib cage. See, can you soften those intercostal muscles between the ribs to get a really nice opening in the chest. Roll the little finger side towards the back of the skull and release the arms down. Okay, come forwards and release your feet. Okay, so we're going to come into a Virasana action now. So for those of you for whom this is problematic, Virasana, you can sit in Dandasana, either onto some foam pads or onto the floor. So I'm going to show first of all Dandasana. This is the alternative if kneeling is not good. I know that some people in this group have got knee problems, so Virasana is out of the question for some people. So you can sit in Dandasana onto a height to do this. I want everybody to have a belt. Now if you don't have a belt, you can use a tea towel, dressing gown cord or whatever you happen to have to hand. Now we're going to start in Virasana on 2 foam pads, but then see if we can come down lower. So I'm just going to get those straight. The feet go, as you can see, directly back, and I pull the flesh of those calves out and back and then use my fingers to spread the toes. Thumbs come onto the heels and the fingers, you keep spreading those toes with the fingers and use that index finger to push down the little toe. So for some people it's not going to come down straight away. Mine certainly didn't when I started in yoga. It took a few years to get that so that it would open out sufficiently to do that. Some of you will need to be on higher support than this. So if your knees are uncomfortable, you come up higher. That's not a problem. Those of you who are able, see, can you take a foam pad out? Now it might be that one foam pad out is fine. It might be that you're just thinking, oh actually, I was absolutely fine on 2 foam pads, but coming down onto one is really just a little bit too much for me. So in that case, you can get a blanket. Hopefully it's better folded than this one is. And you can see that I've got it this way around, so I can flip it back there. So this is about the height of a foam pad. It's a little bit softer though, so it's slightly lower than a foam pad, but then you can effectively get 1.5 foam pads that you're sitting on. Some of you will be able to come down so that you're sitting on the floor. But you have to, when you're sitting on the floor, keep these feet going straight back and keep a lift here in the inner thighs. So we're not hovering. I've just got to move my thigh flesh up. You can see I'm lifting the inner thighs up and pushing this outer thigh flesh down so that I'm keeping my knees with my kneecaps facing directly forwards, like that. So come on to whatever height you're sitting on. Those sitting in Dandasana, keep with it. Okay, we're going to take the belt now, fold it in 2, hold onto your belt. Those with shoulder problems can take it wider than I'm showing here. We're going to pull on the belt and extend the arms up without popping the ribs forwards. So take the arms forwards, draw the shoulder blades down, sit back into your support, and then inhale, take the arms up. Fine inhalation, fine exhalation through the nasal passages. Okay, releasing down, and now everybody will stretch their legs out into Dandasana. Those in Dandasana sitting on some high support, you can come down onto the floor and see if you can manage sitting on the floor in Dandasana. I know that you've been there a while now, but this is a very good way to work. So pull the flesh of the buttocks out and back. Now obviously if you're sitting like that, then you need to sit up on a height. So please do use foam pads underneath the sitting bones to sit up onto, to get that lift rather in the spinal column. We don't want to undo the good work that we've been doing so far in the sequence. All right, so we're coming now for our Shavasana, relaxation, and we're going to be working with a bolster or a blanket underneath your back body. Now I think we've shown before how to make a bolster out of a blanket and a mat. So we roll it so that you've got basically like a bolster with that. And you can put that underneath your spine instead of a bolster if you don't have a bolster. But actually, even if you don't have a bolster, this is quite nice to use because it's very firm. And it might be that you want to use, you can use a foam pad for your head. Might be that you want to use your bolster underneath your knees if your back prefers to have a little bit of support there. Okay, so the sacrum is on the floor and I'm coiling over this support and then stretching the legs out. Have the feet together when you stretch the legs out and then release the feet out to the side. So let's do that together. Hopefully you've got your support set up now. You can see I'm sitting about a hand's width in front of that support. When I recline back onto it, I come onto my elbows, I lift the chest so that I'm not just flattening onto the support, but the support is lifting and opening. And then do have something for your head, whether that's just a little cushion or a bit of blanket. This is probably a little too high and hard, but use what you need. Have the feet together, and with the feet together and the legs bent, scrape your heels along the floor, keeping those heels together. And once your legs are straight, let the feet release out to the side. Tuck your shoulders under so that you're getting an opening in your chest. And breathe. Now, if your back is not comfortable like this, you need to address that. So it might be that you take that bolster out from underneath your back and you put it underneath your knees instead. We have to have comfort in these poses. So now just breathe, let the body steady and settle in your Shavasana, and observe the length of the breath on the inhalation, the length of the breath on the exhalation. Now, if you want to stay in this pose, you're very welcome to do so. For those of you who need to come out now, because we are going to have to finish the session, bend your knees, carefully roll to the right side, and come into a seated position. Keep the chest lifted. And now lift your head and lift your eyelids. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.